I am Bhapna Bhardwaj. The Law Beyond the Books. Here come with video lessons of Law of Torts. So our first topic of discussion is what do you mean by the term tort and what are the essentials in order to consider any act or omission as a tort.
Slide is about the introductory part of Law of Torts. Law of torts is a branch of a civil law, and this branch consists of various torts, or you can say wrongful acts, in which the wrongdoer violates some legal right vested in another person. As all we know, the law imposes a duty to respect the legal rights which are vested in our members of society, and the person making a breach of that duty is said to have done the wrongful act. As you can say, in case of a crime means a wrongful act. So it results from the breach of duty, and that has been recognized by the criminal law like IPC, or you can say for that procedure we have the CRPC. Similarly, in case where there is a breach of contract, and that has been done due to the non-performance of specific duty which has been undertaken by a party to a contract, so that has been recognized under the terms and condition of the Indian Contract Act. Similarly, if you are taking the example of law of torts, so tort is also a breach of duty recognized under the law of torts. For example, you can say if there is a violation of a duty to injure the reputation of any person, this is a tort, or you can say a tort of defamation. Similarly, we have the violation of duty not to interfere with the possession of land of any other person, and it will result as a trespass in the terms of law of tort. So these are the basic example from which you can identify as law of tort is a branch of a civil law. Next point we have that the law of tort is based upon principle of a famous magazine, Ubi Just Ibi Remedium. That means where there is a right, there is a remedy. Or you can say it is also based upon the concept of equity, justice, as well as the doctrine of perfect rights. Here, perfect right means a right for which there is remedy provided. So, a right for which there is no remedy, that means there is no right. So, whenever a right has been created, it is the state's duty to provide an equitable remedy in case of the violation of such right. So, we will discuss about the ubi just ibi remedium and the doctrine of perfect rights and equity and justice in the upcoming video, as it is the jurisprudential basis of law of tort. Another point we have that the term tort is derived from the Latin word that is tortum, which means to twist, or you can say the twisted, crooked, wrongful, or unlawful. It means that the conduct which is not straight or lawful is said to be as a tortum. And in English, the term tortum, or you can say the crooked, wrongful, unlawful, is equivalent to the term wrong in English.
Next, we have the purpose behind the concept of law of torts. The law of torts basically serves two purposes. Number one is to establish a set of public rules, or you can say the public norms, certain standards, or you can say the public conducts, which ultimately governs the social interaction. And this primary objective is interlinked with the secondary objective, that is the maintaining the balance in the society. And you can say whenever there is a violation of legal right, the established set of public rules will come into play and will maintain the balance in the society via deciding, evaluating the loss which has been suffered by the plaintiff. And that secondary objective is based upon two maxims. Number one, sic utre tu ad alienam non letters. It means whenever a person enjoys their right, that has to be enjoy enjoys in such a manner that it will not injure the other. And second is actus legis nemini est damnosus. It means an act in law shall not prejudice no man. So you can say that the purpose behind the law of torts is to establish a certain standards which governs the social interaction, and ultimately it will bring the balancing of society.
So here we have the definition part. We have three important definition of law of tort. So first we have of Winfield, and he said tortious liability arises from the breach of duty primarily fixed by law. That duty is towards person generally, and its breach is redressable by an action for unliquidated damages. That means there is a breach of duty. That duty is fixed by law, and that breach of duty can be redressable by an action by for the unliquidated damages. Second, we have Selman definition. It says that it is a civil wrong which is redressable by an action for unliquidated damages and which is other than a mere breach of contract or breach of trust. That means it is a civil wrong, number one. Second, that can be redressable by an action. Number third, that it is other than a contract, breach of contract or breach of trust. Similarly, we have another important definition by the Indian Limitation Act 1963 section 2 clause M, and it says tort is a civil wrong and which is not exclusively a breach of contract or a breach of trust. So by this important definition, we can have the basic idea regarding the law of tort. And what is tort is that number one, it is a civil wrong. Number second, that every civil wrong is not a tort. That means it is different from breach of contract or breach of trust, and that tort can be redressable uh, by the unliquidated by an action for unliquidated damages, which we will discuss in the upcoming slides. So here we have the essentials of law of torts. The law of torts have three essentials. Number one is that an act or omission shall be done on the part of defendant, and that must be wrongful in nature. A person can be held liable for a tort if he does either an act which is prohibited by law to do, or he willfully fails to perform an act which he is legally bound to do. That means act or omission which is prohibited by law to do or which is legally bound to do respectively. We can do it by an example. As all we know, the law prohibits the defaming of others. If in case I publish defamatory statement against a person acts in that scenario, I shall be liable for tort of defamation. That is act of mine defaming others. Second, we have let's say a municipal corporation fails to perform strength to a municipal building, due to which it crumbled down and few people died. So it is the duty of the municipal corporation to take care, and but there is a negligence on their part, so that municipal corporation shall be liable for tortious So, so such an act or omission in case for liability as a tortious liability that must be recognized and protected by law. That means every act or omission does not amount to a tort until and unless that has been recognized and protected by the law. So we can say that we cannot hold liable any person for the moral or the social wrong. Let's say there is a person A who knows how to swim, but he does not help a drowning man. So in this case, he cannot be held liable for a tort because it's A's choice to help the other person or not, to opt the to perform the moral or social duty attached to him or not. Similarly, if A does not serve food to a starving man, we cannot say that he is liable for the tortious liability because it's A's choice completely. So the act or omission should have been recognized and protected by law. Only then we can say that person has been held liable for a tort if that has been prohibited by law to do, or is that person is legally bound to do but he doesn't do that. Second essential is infringement of legal right of plaintiff. That means the act or omission which has been done by the defendant infringes or violates the legal right of the plaintiff, and that infringement leads to the legal damage to the plaintiff. That is the third essential. Here we have two terms, damage or damages. Both are distinct in nature, as damage means the injury or you can say the loss, whereas damages means the compensation claimed by the injured party and awarded by the court. So for in order to establish a tortious liability, the plaintiff is under obligation to prove that there has been a legal damage caused to him. That is, it has to be proved that the legal rights of the plaintiff were violated by the act or omission done by the defendant. Then only that act or omission can be considered as a tortious liability. So in order to hold a person liable for tortious liability, all these three essential has to be fulfilled. So here we have the tort is a civil wrong. As tort belongs to the category of civil wrong, the basic nature of civil wrong is different from a criminal wrong. In case of infringement of legal right which amounts to a civil wrong, the injured party, that is the plaintiff, institutes civil proceeding against the wrongdoer, that is the defendant, and the main remedy available in such proceeding is damages. That means the compensation. The plaintiff is compensated by the defendant for the injury caused to him by the defendant. But in certain circumstances, it is possible that same act done by the person may result in two wrongs, a crime as well as a tort at the same time. We have many instances we can go through from this. We have an act of theft. When a person has committed an act of theft, he may be prosecuted criminally, and civil action for the recovery of the value of the article stolen and for damages can also be taken against him. So another example we have of defamation. Like if a person has published a defamatory article about another person in a newspaper, in that case too, both are criminal prosecution for libel and civil action claiming the damages for the defamatory publication may be taken against him. So a tort is a civil crime, no doubt, but in certain circumstances it is possible that the same act may result in a two wrongs, and it may cover a civil and criminal both in single act. In that cases, both the civil and the criminal remedies will concurrently be available, and there would be a civil action requiring the defendant to pay compensation, as well as the criminal action awarding the punishment to the wrongdoer at the same time. So for the matter of tort, we have the unliquidated damages, that is the not predetermined amount of compensation to be paid by the defendant to the plaintiff. So up next we have that all civil injuries are not torts. From the definition we can say that the breach of contract or breach of trust is not considered to be as a tort, as we have with an example that let's say a person agrees to purchase a radio set, and thereafter he does not fulfill his obligation. The wrong will be mere a breach of contract, that it is only by the process of elimination that we may be able to know whether the wrong is a tort or not. But first we have to see whether the wrong is civil or criminal. If it is civil wrong, then it has to be further seen if it is exclusively belongs to the recognized category of civil wrongs like breach of contract or breach of trust. If it is found that it is neither a mere breach of contract or near or nor any other civil wrong, then we can say that the wrong is a tort. For example, A delivers his horse to B for a safe custody for a week, and B allows the horse to die because of starvation. B's act amount of two wrongs: breach of contract of bailment and commission of tort of negligence. Since both the wrongs are civil wrongs and the damages is the main remedy for any kind of civil wrong, the plaintiff can claim damages either under the law of tort for negligence or for the breach of contract of bailment. He cannot claim damages twice. So here we can say that all the civil injuries are not tort, as as the contract, as a breach of contract or breach of trust is also a civil wrong in nature, but it does not amount to be a tort. So we have to check whether that the wrong which has been committed is what is of what nature, whether it is a criminal or a civil. If it is civil, then whether it is fall under the specific recognized category, that is a breach of contract or breach of trust. If does not fall in that category, that means that it is a tort. We have discussed about that what is tort. So it's just a civil wrong, and that civil wrong is not includes the breach of contract and breach of trust, and it can be redressable by an action for unliquidated damages. In short, this is all about tort, and we also have discussed about the essential of it. And in case of any query, you can comment it in the comment section. Thank you. Have a nice day.